Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Vaidurya, Krita, Sopana, Vapya, Utpala, Malini, Praptam, Kim Purushaya, Drishva, Ta, Arad, Dadrishur, Vatam, Vaidurya Krita Sopana, Vapya Utpala Malini, Praptam Kim Purushaya Drishtva, Ta Arad Dadrishur Vatam, Vaidurya Krita Sopana, Vapya Utpala Malini, Praptam Kim Purushaya Drishtva, Ta Arad Dadrishur Patam, Vaidurya Krita Sopana, Vapya Utpala Malini, Praptam Kim Purushaya Drishtva, Ta Arad Dadrishur Vatam. Okay, what verse is it? 30.
Verse 31.
Vaidurya Krita, made of Vaidurya.
Vaidurjából készült.
Sopana, staircases.
Lépcsők.
Vapya, lakes.
Tavak.
Utpala, lotus flowers.
Lótuszvirágok.
Malini, containing rose.
Sorokban.
Praptam, inhabited.
Lakják.
Kim Purushai, the Kim Purushas.
A Kimpurusák.
Drishtva, after seeing.
Miután látták.
Te, those demigods.
Azok a félistenek.
Arat, not far away.
Nem messze.
Dadrishu, saw.
Láttak.
Vatam, a banyan tree.
Egy banyafát.
Translation. They also saw the bathing ghats and their staircases were made of Vaidurya mani. The water was full of lotus flowers. Passing by such lakes, the demigods reached a place where there was a great banyan tree.
Fordítás. A félistenek látták, hogy a fültőgázak és a lépcsők Vaidurya maniból készültek, hogy a vizet lótuszvirágok borítják. Aztán a tavak mentén haladva egyszer csak egy hatalmas banyafához érkeztek.
Text 32. That banyan tree was 800 miles high, and its branches spread over 600 miles around. The tree cast a fine shade, which permanently cooled the temperature, yet there was no noise of birds.
32. A banyafa 800 mérföld magas volt, és ágai több mint 600 mérföldre nyúltak ki. Kellemes árnyékot nyújtott, amely szünet nélkül enyhítette a hőséget, ám madarak hangját mégsem hallották.
Do the purple one.
Magyarázat. Általában minden fán vannak madárfészkek, s lakóik esténként hangoskodva gyűlnek össze. Úgy látszik azonban, hogy ezen a banyafán egyetlen madár sem rakott fészket, ezért nyugodt, csöndes és békés volt. Nem volt zaj, nem volt hőség, így aztán éppen alkalmas lehetett a meditációhoz.
Text 33. Translation: the demigod saw Lord Shiva sitting under that tree, which was competent to give perfection to mystic yogis and deliver all people. As grave as time eternal, he appeared to have given up anger.
Látták az Úr Shivát, amit a fa alatt ült, amely képes volt a tökéletességgel megáldani a misztikus jónkat, és bárkinek megadhatta a felszabadulást. Komolynak látszott, akár az örök idő, és úgy tűnt megszabadult minden hűtől. Magyarázat. Ebben a versben a Maha Yoga szó nagyon fontos. A joga jelentése, meditáció az Istenség legfelsőbb személyisége, Maha Yoga pedig azokra utal, akik Krisna oldalra szolgálatát végzik. A meditáció emlékezést, szmaranamot jelent. A szmaranam az oldalra szolgálat 9 folyamatának egyike, amelynek során a jogi Krisna formájára emlékezik a szívében. A hatalmas angyalfa alatt számtalan bakta meditált az Úr Krisna. A szanszkrit mahá szó a mahat képzőből származik. Ezt a képzőt akkor használják, amikor valamilyen nagy számú maga mennyiségről beszélnek. A mahá jóga szó tehát arra utal, hogy számtalan nagy jogi és bakta volt ott, akik az Úr Vishnu formáján meditáltak. Azok, akik ezt a meditációt végzik, általában arra vágynak, hogy megszabaduljanak az anyagi kötelékektől, és később a lelki világba kerülnek az egyik Vajkunta bolygóra. A felszabadulás azt jelenti, hogy az ember megszabadul az anyagi kötelékektől, azaz a tudatlanságtól. Az anyagi világon élet után egyre csak szenvedünk amiatt, hogy a testtel azonosítjuk magunkat. A felszabadulás azt jelenti, hogy megszabadulunk az élet gyötrelmeitől.
Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyanagena Shlakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Svapadantikam Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Goma Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Om Him Shrom Om Param Tataka Hatika Keshka Jalat Padakalochana Badharakanaka Shvarsadava Singha Namostute Ugrim Viramaha Vishnum Dvalantam Sarvato Mukham Shringam Bhishanam Badram Vittor Mittam Namamyaham. This chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam is entitled Lord Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. And this text number 33 is the first of a number of verses glorifying the transcendental qualities of this auspicious person, Shiva. Actually, the very word Shiva, as it's pronounced, Shiva, it means auspicious. Lord Shiva is auspiciousness personified. Because he's actually a partial manifestation of Lord Krishna. When Krishna desires to impregnate the living entities into the material world, he does so by glancing at the material energy. At one point, Krishna creates the Mahatattva, which is the total material energy. But it's actually devoid of any living entities. There's nobody. So when the Lord desires to impregnate the living entities into the womb of material nature, he just looks over, and here we are. Just like in the Bible, it says when the Lord wanted to create light, he said, "Let there be light." Right? He doesn't have to collect all the water at the dam and make a big facility and generate force called electricity and channel it into the big city with wires and telephone poles and all this. If the Lord wants some light, He just says, "Let there be light." Actually, the Brahma Samhita mentions this particular phenomena about Krishna, that all his senses are interchangeable. His senses are interchangeable. They can perform the function, each sense can perform the function of other senses. Just like when we offer prasad to our beloved deity, Shishirada Shyamasundar. Shyamasundar doesn't actually come down off the altar and sit down, Sadhira Vidyajal Jatendri. No, he simply listens to our loving prayers. And when our prayers are full of bhav, full of bhakti, full of love, he says, "Yes, I will accept this nice offering." So he eats, actually he eats through his ears. He's relishing the prasad to the prayers of his devotees. Actually, Krishna doesn't need to eat. He accepts the offering because we want to do some devotional service. So, similarly to impregnate, generally the genital is used to impregnate, but when the Lord wants to impregnate, he can do it with his eyes. He just looks at the material energy. And here we are. But that look, personified, is the personality of Shiva. To impregnate the living entities into the material world means that the Lord would have to have contact with the material energy. But it's stated that the Lord never has contact with this material energy. He's always engaged in his Vaikuntha Lila or his Vrindavan Lila. He never comes in contact with this, what he describes as his inferior energy, the material nature. But no one else could actually impregnate the living entities into the material world. So his partial manifestation is Shiva. He expands himself as Shiva. Lord Shiva is almost Krishna. He's almost Krishna. He's so close that the Acharyas give the analogy of a substance which transforms itself. Milk. When you add some citric acid or some tamarind to milk, then and you put it in the proper temperature, then overnight it turns into yogurt. So milk and yogurt are the same substance really, but they have different functions. Milk heats the body, and yogurt cools the body. That's why when you have dysentery in India, you shouldn't drink milk. Because dysentery actually means the stomach is overheated. It's overheated, and as a result there's illness. So to cool the tummy, right, you take some yogurt and some banana. It's very austere. Especially those bananas in India. They're about that big. You peel them like this, and they're hard. Right? And you take the yogurt, buffalo milk yogurt. Yuck. Right? Buffalo yogurt milk and bananas. I never want to see them again. It's very, very austere, and sometimes you can't control your tongue. I think everyone's had dysentery at least one time in India. Right? We have to talk about the facts of life, what this material world's like. So we've all had dysentery in India. And everyone says, okay, yogurt and bananas. And then, we eat for a day or two and we think, oh, I'm fine. And then we take some sweet rice or big gulab jamun and then, oh, dysentery. You have to cool the tummy, so you stick to the yogurt. So, like that, yogurt and milk are the same substance, but they have different functions. So actually no analogy is completely perfect in this material world. Because Lord Shiva is not simultaneously one with and different than Krishna. I mean, he is in one sense, but actually he's Shiva Tattva. He's a very mysterious personality. Nectar of Devotion describes that he has 5 unique qualities just like Krishna has. He's changeless. He's all cognizant. He's all cognizant. He's ever fresh. He possesses an eternal, blissful body. And he has all mystic perfections. So he's almost supreme. But he's subservient to Krishna. Like everyone else, Jiver Supoya Krishnera Nityadas. Every living entity is subservient to Krishna. We're all eternal servants of the Lord. But he's not just any servant. He's the best servant. He's the greatest servant. That is described. Nimna ghanam yata ganga devanam achyuta yata vaishnavanam yata sambhu purananam idam tata. That just as the Ganga is the greatest of rivers, Lord Achyuta is supreme amongst all deities. So Lord Sambhu, Lord Shiva, is the greatest of Vaishnavas. And Purananam idam tata, Srimad Bhagavatam is the best of all scriptures. But he's so far out, and he does such amazing things, Lord Shiva, that lots of people think he's supreme. In fact, in South India, there's practically an eternal debate going on whether Shiva is supreme or Krishna is supreme. When you go to South India, the culture, or the Vedic culture, is more intact in South India. The north is much more materialistic and so forth. But actually the Muslims didn't go so far into South India, so their culture was retained there. And the material industry of North India has not yet gone into the south. So if you go to preach in South India, you have to really know the philosophy. There's many realized Brahmins, many Pandits. I remember Srila Prabhupada, when he was present, he asked 2 of our sannyasis, at that time they were sannyasis, Achyutananda Swami and Yasodananda Maharaj, to go down to South India and preach Krishna consciousness. So when they went there, they had their Bhagavad Gita shlokas, and they went down there, but they found it quite difficult actually, because the people, even the common people knew so many shlokas, and people knew philosophy very well, so they actually went somewhere and studied for 3 months, and they came back to, argue with the impersonalists, and they found many people were saying also that Lord Shiva is supreme. Just like we have our Bhagavad Purana, which describes the glories of Lord Krishna, there's also a very large scripture called the Shiva Purana. And if you read that, you might think that Shiva is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Lord Shiva himself is under no illusion who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That was demonstrated during the fight between Lord Ramachandra and the great Rakshasa demon, Ravana. It was the final battle at Lanka, and Lord Ramachandra and Ravana were engaged in a fierce battle. But towards the end of the battle, Ravana started to lose. And at one point, Lord Ramachandra took out his arrow and he touched it to his head, like you see all the Gurukul boys do. He put it to his bow. And he was about to shoot it into the heart of Ravana. But Ravana, he was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva and Parvati were sitting in the heavenly planets. And as we mentioned earlier, one of the 5 distinctive qualities of Lord Shiva that he has, like Lord Krishna, is that he's all cognizant. So Parvati was sitting on the lap of Shiva, and they were actually watching this battle. Often the demigods, they enjoy watching the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They all line up somewhere in the clouds like that, and they sit there and they have their seats and they watch these amazing pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So Lord Shiva was very much enjoying this battle between Lord Ramachandra and Ravana. And he and his good wife Parvati, they were watching as Ram took the arrow. All right, finish, you treacherous dog. So at that moment, Ravana began meditating on his worshipable deity, Lord Shiva, and he was asking for the benediction that he could defeat Ram. And he was meditating on Lord Shiva, so Parvati, she turned to her husband, she said, "My dear husband, you see your devotee is about to be killed, you should give him full protection." So Lord Shiva turned to his wife and he said, "Raki Krishna Marike, Mari Krishna Rakike." If Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you. And if Krishna wants to save you, no one can kill you. So even Lord Shiva, although he's so powerful, he could not ultimately protect his devotee from death. Whereas Krishna is famous in Bhagavad Gita for saying that I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death for my devotee. So he's very great, but his greatness is actually seen in the fact that he's a great devotee. He's such a great devotee that actually he spends most of his time just meditating on Lord Shankarshan at Mount Kailash. There's a famous banyan tree there. I think actually that's what's being described here. This banyan tree and all the great personalities who are there at the feet of Lord Shiva. So he's engaged in his mystic meditation on the lotus feet of Lord Shankarshan. And he doesn't budge for a minute. In fact, he's so intent on his meditation, he doesn't even have time to build his wife a house. Yes, who is his wife? Parvati or Durga. We were speaking about Durga the other day. She is the mother of the material energy. And And actually people pray to her for these things. Dhanam dehi, rupam dehi, rupa pati bhajam dehi. This is one mantra. It is not Maha Mantra. It is the mantra of the materialists. Please don't memorize this mantra. Dhanam dehi, rupam dehi, rupapati bhajam dehi. Dhanam dehi, rupam dehi, rupapati bhajam dehi. Oh, worshipable Mother Durga Devi, please give me wealth. Please give me strength. Please give me fame. A good wife, a handsome husband, and a very fine house. Okay. Someone want this mantra? Then you have to receive it to Guru Parampara. Otherwise it will not be effective. Dhanam dehi, rupam dehi, rupa pati bhajam dehi. And she gives these things. Actually, if you worship the followers of Durga, actually the followers of Durga, they're very opulent, actually. Prabhupada says the followers of Durga, the followers of Lord Shiva, because they ask for these benedictions and they undergo all the rules and regulations and the penance and austerities, they get these things. So Prabhupada said the followers of Lord Shiva, they're often very opulent, but the followers of Lord Vishnu, they're often very poor fellows. At least externally they appear to be poor. In fact, they're the richest of all because in their heart they have the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devotees don't pray for these things. They say, Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavicham va jagadisha kame, mama janmani janmanishwar bhavatat bhakti ahaitikit. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, na. Like, no. I have no desire to accumulate wealth. I don't want to enjoy the opposite sex. I don't want name or fame. All that I want is that I might have your causeless devotional service, life after life. But the followers of Durga, they get these things by her blessings. But she herself doesn't even possess a house. Because the mentality of the woman is to always follow the mood of the husband. Right? That's Vedic way, that the wife, because sometimes there's two ways of doing things. Right? Sometimes there's only one way to do something. Harinama Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam, kulu nashdev, nashdev, nashdev gachan. That's the only way, there's only one way in the age of Kali. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. There's no other choice in the two ways, Gyan, Yoga, one way. So sometimes there's only one way, but sometimes in practical life there's varieties, maybe two ways to do it. You can paint it yellow, you can paint it green. Right? So that there's peace in the household, because either one will work, yellow or green. If the husband and wife disagree, then the wife says, I surrender. Paint it green if you want. So there's peace, the wife surrenders. This is the proper move. The servant should always be surrendered to the master. The wife should always be surrendered to the husband. The disciple should always be surrendered to the guru. So in this regard, there are many wonderful examples in Vedic culture of Krishna-conscious ladies. Look at Gandhari. Gandhari was an arranged marriage. She didn't know who her husband was going to be. Of course, she could expect it would be an exalted person because she herself was a princess. But when she was introduced to her husband, Dhritarashtra, she saw he was blind. so as not to be superior to him, she immediately took a piece of cloth, put it around her eyes, so she would be submissive. So therefore, although Durga Devi, she is in charge of all these different things, this dhanam dehi, rupam dehi, rupapati bhajam dehi, this wealth, this strength, fame, handsome husband, good wife, like house, she doesn't even request a house. Yes, her husband's just sitting under the tree, meditating on Lord Shankarshan, and she's there assisting him and giving these benedictions to the materialistic person. So he always remains pure, Lord Shiva, because of his meditation on Lord Shankarshan. Also, he has the added advantage that he's always in contact with the Ganges. The Ganges River, when it flows from the spiritual world into the material world, has a very powerful force. And Mother Ganga, when she was ordered to come to the material world by one great sage, actually, her fear was that she would destroy the worlds. Because she's so powerful, she would devastate the upper planetary, middle, and lower planetary systems. So she said she would come on the condition that someone would catch her and accept that force of her current. So Lord Shiva agreed to take that. He's very kind to the living entities, actually. On our behalf, he's often doing things like that. Another time, through the churning of the milk ocean by the demons and the devotees, many things were produced from the milk ocean. There was a churning rod, and they were churning the milk ocean together. And Aryavata came out, Indra's elephant, and Lakshmi Devi came out, and so many, they're all demons and devotees are grabbing for all these different things coming out as mystic churning of the ocean. And all of a sudden, by the arrangement of the Lord, the hala hala, your hair should stand on end, the hala hala came. You know what is hala hala? Poison. Yes, all the poison began this black poison appeared on the top of the milk ocean, and it was threatening to, inundate the entire creation and kill everyone. So out of his compassion, actually, a devotee is naturally compassionate. He's compassionate in a spiritual way by giving Krishna conscious. But a devotee is also attentive in material matters. He can also act like a perfect gentleman. A devotee can also help old ladies across the street. Yes, he can help old ladies walk across the way. One time, devotee asked Prabhupada the question, if someone is drowning, that means it's their destiny. So why should a devotee intervene into someone's destiny and risk his life by saving him? Prabhupada, the devotee said, should we risk our life if we see someone drowning in a river? I said, yes, a devotee is a gentleman. He said, besides, if he acts in these ways, then the devotees will get credit from the people. People will give devotees credit for acting in these moral ways. Just like one time in Melbourne, Australia, the devotees were preparing for a big Ratha Yatra. And they were taking this big, huge canopy, which is about half the size of this temple room, and they were putting it together to put on top of the chariot. And suddenly they heard these screams, "Help! Help us! Help!" Terrible, blood-curdling screams. Blood-curdling? It's just like, oh, you hear this, ah! And they looked over, this whole building was on fire. About 50 meters away. And there was a lot of ladies, secretaries, who'd gone to the top of the building, and they were maybe there was like 20 secretaries at the top of the building, and they were panicking, and 3 or 4 of them jumped off the building and died on the pavement. So nobody knew what to do because no one could even the firemen could not go inside. The building was burning on the bottom, and only this one story was left still intact. So the devotees at the Rath Yatra site, they picked up the big canopy for the Rath Yatra chariot, and they ran over there, and they pulled it tight, and they said, "Jump!" These are big, strong Australian brahmacharis. Jump! So, one by one, these ladies, they jumped. I think it was 5 stories. It's like, it's really scary. They jumped, and the boys went, boing, and they went, boing. They didn't even sprain an ankle, these ladies. And I'm told that all those secretaries went and embraced the brahmacharis and, thank you very much, thank you very much. But the good thing was that there was a photographer there. And the next day on the front page, Hare Krishnas, save, ladies from death. It was like the big news, Right? The Rath Yatra had 1 little 2 sentences. This big brahmachari. Boing, boing, boing. So the movement actually became famous for that. At least in Melbourne, people always question these crazy Hare Krishnas, this is some kind of cult or sect. After that, there's never been a problem in Melbourne. People still, you're the guys that saved the ladies. Yeah, right. So it may not be a purely spiritual activity in the sense of, whatever, but it's a moral activity. Devotees always act. Well, in this world, we continue to act as ladies and gentlemen. So Prabhupada said, yes, although it's someone's destiny to die, still a devotee can intervene and save that person materially. So Lord Shiva is one of the Mahajans. He's one of the great teachers of devotional service. So he teaches us how to act not only as perfect transcendentalists, but also as ladies and gentlemen. So when the Hala Hala was spreading throughout the world, he said, no problem. And he went over that ocean and and then his throat turned blue, Nilakanta. He still has that little blue throat there, but he's glorified. Some may think, this is defect, he has blue throat, but because it was out of his compassion, he's glorified for that. So therefore for this and other reasons, he's considered the greatest personality, the greatest Vaishnava. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given a very nice definition of how to determine the greatness of a Vaishnava. He said, actually, what is a Vaishnava? A Vaishnava is like a touchstone. Do you know the touchstone? Actually, touchstones are real. They're real. It's not some story. The story of Sanatana Goswami and the touchstone is there in one Shastra. I had it in my notebook, but I don't have my notebook. But there's a Shastra which tells that story of Sanatana Goswami and the touchstone. And this pastime happened somewhere near Kushum Sarovara. And that touchstone is now at the bottom of Kushum Sarovara. Yes. How many of you have been to Kushum Sarovara? Beautiful transcendental lake near Govardhan Hill. And if you want, you can go. Because it'd be a little embarrassing after knowing the story, right? Go back to the garbage heap after you have the Maha Mantra. I'm going to India to get the touchstone. But the problem is it's 28 yojanas deep. That means you can't find it. The bottoms, I mean, it's just so far. But I was told that that's where actually Shivaram Maharaj told me, that's where the touchstone is, at the bottom of Kushum Sarovara. So that would be the ultimate treasure hunt. Right? We have people searching, for lost ships and gold, in the Atlantic, Pacific. This is the ultimate treasure hunt. Kushum Sarovara, touchstone. I think only the temple presidents have the right to contemplate this. We solve all our problems here, right? But actually, it would mean we would have no engagement, really. So we have to keep working hard, going out and collecting. It keeps us engaged. So anyway, what I was trying to say was that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he compares a Vaishnava to a touchstone. Touchstone, whatever you turn. Gold. 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 So a Vaishnava association turns other people into Vaishnavas. It changes the heart of people. Maybe it doesn't immediately turn them into devotees of the Lord, but devotees always change everyone's heart to greater or lesser degrees. Just like recently we were trying to bring we purchased a new sound system in England, and we were bringing it into Poland. And this is a very expensive sound system, like $50,000. We can address 200,000 people with this. So, brand speakers and monitors and amplifiers and multi-chords and all these big, fancy, shiny things, and our van was full to the top. We were expecting that the customs at the border in Poland, they were going to tax us, like 30% of that whole show. So we just, what can we do? We're going to have to pay the money. So we drive up to the customs. The man takes the passports. He says, okay, whoa, what have you got in here, boys? Just a little Walkman. Right. Look at that. Whoa, and all the customs officials start walking around the van, taking out their pens, And the chief custom man comes to the window. He says, so, what's this for anyway? So Radhashami says it's for the Hare Krishna festival. Oh, Hare Krishna festival. Yeah, I went to the Hare Krishna festival up on the beach there. My daughter got the little face painting. She wore the dress, and Hari Hari, and my wife loved the food, and wow, you guys are great. Go right through, no problem. Like that. So a little association with devotee can actually change one's heart. That's why the Lord Chaitanya, he said this chanting of Hare Krishna, the Sankirtan movement, there's no hard and fast rules. It means that we don't, have a certain time for preaching, and this time we don't preach, and that. If we have an opportunity, which means if we come in contact with the conditioned soul, we should share the nectar. If you're on the bus, driving somewhere, or you're in the shop, or something, some prasad, or meditation. I know generally when I travel, I often get a beautiful garland before I leave the temple going to the next destination. And often if I'm taking the plane, I keep that garland on me, and when I go up the steps of the plane, and usually the hostesses are there, they're saying, welcome. I say, could you please give this garland to the captain of the plane? Oh, wow, really? Yeah, go ahead. They go in, and they close the door. And sometimes the captain, he sends his regards back. She comes and she says, the captain wants to say thank you for that beautiful garland. Can he keep it? Yes, he can keep it. One time I was taking a plane and gave it the garland, and then, about an hour or two into the flight, the captain came back. Everyone could tell he was the captain. He had his cap on. People were like, and, I was also, he's the captain, right? The captain came and he said, you're the gentleman who gave me the garland? He was wearing the garland, right? I said, yes, sir. He said, can I sit with you? Yeah. He said, yeah. I said, he slapped me. He said, I want to thank you for that garland. He said, I love you people. He said, you're the, let me see, I forget your name now. He said, what religion are you? You're the kitchen religion. He said, yeah, what's the name of your religion? You're not the Christians, the Muslims. You're the kitchen religion. I said, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, yeah. He said, but in Sydney, he said, when I was a young man growing up, before I was a pilot, I used to eat at your food for life. He said, I was down and out, no money, taking drugs. I used to go every day, and you guys saved me. So you're the kitchen. I just want to thank you, boys, for what you're doing. So like that, we can always take the opportunity to, rub a little Krishna consciousness off on whoever we meet, some poor, unfortunate, conditioned souls. And generally, if the captain doesn't get the garland, and sometimes the stewardesses, they wear it. I'll give the garland to one stewardess, and all the other ones are so envious, they're so jealous. One time a stewardess said, do you have another one for me? Why did she get it? I'm the top purser. What you put to her? I said, next time I'll bring it. So this is the meaning of touchstone, a devotee. That's why it's always important to dress as devotees. Because it's said the perfection of the tongue is to taste prasadam that's been eaten by a guru. Perfection of the hands is to serve the devotee. The perfection of the eyes is to see the devotee. I often tell the story that when I was flying, before I was a devotee, I was about 17 or 18, and I was flying from I was flying from Lebanon to Cairo, Egypt on a plane. I was sitting in the plane, and suddenly this young man stood up. And he was in saffron, he's dressed in saffron. I don't know if he was a Hare Krishna devotee or he was a Buddhist or I don't know what. This was like very early. This is like 67 before all these things started happening, you know, Eastern movements in the West. And I didn't know anything about, you know, anything. I was just, anyway, I won't tell you what I was doing, but you know, I wasn't into spiritual life at all. But I saw this young man, he was about my age. And he had no possessions. He just had this saffron, like a more orange-colored robe and shaved head. And whenever the stewardess would come and offer some food, you know, he'd just, you know. And the movie was on, you know, and I was watching the movie. Yeah, get him! You know, he was just looking out the window, you know, like meditating on something. And I, you know, wow, this is amazing. And he had this effulgence about him, you know. And then he got up to go to the restroom, and he walked past me, and my hair stood on end. Literally, I just got goosebumps. And then he walked back, and in my mind I thought, I want to be like him. I didn't know anything about him, I didn't know anything, but just his presence is just so purifying that I thought in my mind, I said, I want to be like him. But I was too shy to go up and speak to him. And then we landed in Cairo, and you know, I went and got my bags. He just walked straight out of the airport. Like he just like floating or something. I don't know. I'll never know who he was, but I'm very thankful to him. Even if he wasn't an impersonalist, still he helped me on the spiritual path because he displayed a spiritual quality of detachment, disinterest in material things, cleanliness, purity. He greatly helped me, and I always remember that. This is in the 60s, well before I even thought of anything. So I often think of that when I'm traveling, and I'm always very careful to make sure that my clothes are neat and they're clean, and my head is shaved, and I have my mala, and chanting. And I sometimes notice that people are studying me. It's a little embarrassing, but I notice Ram. Like that. So whenever I travel, I'm always encouraging devotees to always wear, as far as possible, to wear Vaishnava attire, because it's a way of preaching. We become like a touchstone. Even through the eyes, people are becoming purified. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said that the definition of a Vaishnava is how many people that Vaishnava can turn into Vaishnavas. This is how you do it. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's definition of a Vaishnava. You can judge the quality of a Vaishnava by how much he's like a touchstone, that he can turn others into devotees of the Lord. And when you think like that, you also naturally think of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, when he went to America, we've discussed it many times, but it's a transcendental thing. Prabhupada, he didn't preach in upstate New York. Upstate New York, all the ladies and the gentlemen, and it would have been very easy to be glorified, and they would do little meditation, little yoga, but he went to the Bowery, where the hippies had even no morals. Prabhupada said the hippies had one good quality. One good quality. They had a spirit of renunciation. They were taking drugs, into sex. Many of them were animal meat eaters, speculators like anything. We talk about speculation. I am God. Prabhupada's giving a lecture. One girl screaming, "I am God!" You are not God. I am God. You are not God. So, Prabhupada went there, and they had one good quality. They had a spirit of they wanted to renounce the materialistic life of their forefathers. And he picked them up and made them into wonderful Vaishnavas. So Lord Shiva is the perfect example of that. Because he's also, Lord Shiva, look who he delivers. The ghosts, the witches, the hobgoblins. If you see a picture of Shiva when he's traveling, it's just this horde of bhutas and ghosts and witches and all those scary monsters that you see in the horror movies. They're just they're following. Especially at sunset. Actually, at sunset, he's traveling at sunset, and all these ghosts and witches are traveling with him, and this is when they're traveling. So, but what is the effect of his association? They become transformed into Vaishnavas. Just like a doctor, he can cure your little flu by giving you a little injection. It's no big deal, but if a doctor cures you of AIDS, it's something big. So Lord Shiva, he cures the conditioned souls of the ultimate disease called material existence. So for this reason and others, we honor him. And actually, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we worship him. We honor him because he's achieved the goal. What is our goal as Gaudiya Vaishnavas? We want to go to Goloka Vrindavan. So Lord Shiva, by his determination, he also resides in Vrindavan. Well, let us say just on the border of Vrindavan. We all know that story. How he went to the Dham to witness Radha and Krishna's pastimes. But, he's in a male body. He couldn't join the Rasa Leela. Only the gopis are dancing Rasa Leela. So he was there and he wanted to enter, and Mother Purnamasi said, can't, but I can change you into gopi. Yes, please. Ooh. Pretty nice. So he walked in, a young girl, 12-year-old girl, sat down with the other girls and their gopis, and they're making the garlands and making the beetle, snatching the beetle and making pan for Krishna, the gopis, and fixing their chamara pans, and they're talking amongst each other about Krishna's transcendental qualities and their devotional service. And how was your service for Radha and Krishna last night? Oh, yours and they said to Lord Shiva, so your new gopi, what is your name? Huh? And what is your service? No, we all have our service for Krishna. What is your service? You're an imposter. To beat this young girl. So he ran away, he was crying, and Purnamasi said, I'm sorry. He said, if you'd like, you can stay here as a Gopishwara Mahadev, and you can have the good fortune to protect these young girls. And actually to enter into the Ras Leela, you have to go through Lord Shiva. You have to get the blessings of this greatest Vaishnava. So therefore it's very appropriate that you've established this little temple here as you enter a new Brajdam. I think Lord Shiva is going to go there, right? And I went to Shiva Ram Maharaj's house, and I went upstairs to look at the books. What did I see? Beautiful Shivlingams. Big Shivlingams like this. They're so beautiful. So I think that they'll be established. One or two, I don't know. One will be established. I can ask for the second one. Very beautiful. So that's very appropriate here at New Brajadam, that he's Gopishwara Mahadev. He's the protector of the gopis. And to enter into the Dham, you need the blessings of Lord Shiva. And of course, you'll see Gopishwara Mahadev when you go to Vrindavan. That's one of the most famous temples. Near Lala Baba Temple, there's Gopishwara Mahadev. And in morning, he has the mustache and the trident. In evening, Lord Shiva's like this. He dresses gopi. It's so nice to that temple. It's such a nice temple. So the Vaishnavas, they go there first. Before going to Banki Bihari Lal Ki Jai, Lala Bihari Ki Jai, before going to Radha Damodar, they go to Lord Shiva and they pray please, you are the guardian of the Dham, please let me enter and please let me serve out in Krishna in the mood of the gopis. So he's so worshipable. Of course, not understanding his full glories, people worship him for other reasons. Just like people worship Krishna for different reasons. People also approach Krishna for a wife, husband, house. Sometimes he fulfills those desires. Although one can approach Krishna and get the most valuable jewel of pure devotional service, people who are ignorant, they approach him for other reasons. And he fulfills those desires. The bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kam, the materialists, those desiring liberation, desiring mystic powers, if that's what you want, okay, go for it. So because he's Krishna's representative, Shiva is empowered to do the same thing. In fact, you might say that he's the only demigod you can approach and get the ultimate param gati, going back to God. Usually what you get from the demigods is just the material benedictions, but the demigods, because they themselves are bound up by the laws of material nature, they're not completely pure. They can't deliver you. But Shiva's a Vaishnava, so he can. But he also fulfills material desires. But he's a little temperamental when he has to do that. Right? He likes pleasing the devotees and giving them Krishna consciousness and introducing them to the Dham. When he has to do his work of, satisfying the desires of the materialists, oh God. So he's a little touchy. He's called Ashutosh. He's easily pleased, but watch out. He's easily displeased. Some temperamental people, they're like real nice, but you say the wrong thing. So we know that Shiva, you can please him quite easily. Actually, what's the flower called, Prahlad? The red flower? In Vrindavan and other parts of India, you see this red flower. It's not to be offered to Krishna. It's a flower, blood red flower, which is reserved for the worship of Lord Shiva. So like Krishna, you can take, pattam pushpam phalam toyam, you can take tulsi leaf, and you can take this red flower and offer it to Shiva, and you'll... But if you displease Shiva, you may even lose your head, and for that you can speak to Daksha. Daksha will tell you the story. So as Vaishnavas, we don't approach him with material desires. We approach him to get his mercy as a Vaishnava. And he can give. He's very merciful. Charya Vaishnava Seva, as we said yesterday, quoting Narottam Das Thakur, who has ever been delivered without the mercy of a Vaishnava? Shamshara Sharpadashtanam Vurchitanam Kalo Yuge Asadham Bhagavan Nama Srimad Vaishnava Sevanam. In this age of quarrel, the natural remedy for those who have fallen faint, having been bitten by the fangs of the serpent of samsara, is the name of the Supreme Lord and menial service to the Vaishnavas. This is a verse by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. After he was fully enlightened in Krishna consciousness by Lord Chaitanya, he praised the Lord with 100 very elegant and beautiful verses. And this is one of those verses. Samsara sarpadashtanam murchitanam kalo yuge asadham bhagavan nama Srimad Vaishnava Sevanam. In this age of Kali Yuga, the remedy for those of us who have been bitten by the fangs of samsara is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, and Srimad Vaishnava Sevanam. Menial service to the lotus feet of Vaishnava. So you're very fortunate very soon, the greatest of all Vaishnavas, he will be arriving and he will be there in that little temple there, and you can go every day and you can pray your Dandabhas and pray to Lord Shiva in the mood of pure devotion. Pray to him for pure devotion for Radhesham. And like all Vaishnavas, he's very happy to give the mercy. Vanchakalpa turubhyascha kripasinnu bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo. Kantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Lord Shiva ki, Sisi Radhesham ki, Hey Govardhan Lala ki, Shri Gaurnataraj ki, Nu Brajadam ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.